to see whether it's recording or not because it's,
Oh yeah.
okay, now it's recording. Sorry.
Was it not recording
No,
before?
it wasn't. 3. Yes, recording.
Okay, so this video is going to be for everybody that can't make our first build session. I'm going to show you what you need to do at home before you come to our second build session so that you can catch up and finish your plane with everybody. When we're done today, your foam, which starts out as a sheet, like those sheets over on the table saw there, when we're all done, it'll look like this, right? Now this is not a full plane, but this is what you need when you come to build session 2. We're going to show you how to cut out each piece individually. We're going to show you how to bevel your control surfaces to make hinges, right? We're going to show you how to glue your pieces together. We're going to show you how to add the carbon reinforcement to the wing and to the tail. And this is what it looks like when you're done.
3.
All right, the first step, everybody starts with this print that you probably got from Matt. This print has all of your pieces in full scale and how they're going to connect up, how they're going to sit on your foam. They're all tiled out. So all you need to do is take this thing and we're going to align it onto our foam in such a way that the whole thing fits. Now, when we do this, we want to try and take advantage of this factory flat edge here on our wing because we've got some surfaces that need to made up with it. So before you start, you can use a razor blade or scissors. If you use a sharp razor blade, you just barely need to touch that. There's hardly any force that I'm putting down here at all. Alright, and I'm just going to clean that up. This is just so I can access that corner. I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. So, right, on this wing here, just going to cut this guy out, right? So now, when I come, go ahead and bring the camera over here. We've got this corner. We're going to meet up this corner right here. We just want to barely be on the edge of the corner. And then over, we'll follow it down this way. This side also is going to line up flat. So this is where we're gonna pin our print so that this edge here, we don't even have to cut it. It's going to be a nice, perfect, flat edge. Nobody has to worry about it being goofy. So to hold this down, we're going to take sewing pins. These are just sewing pins that you steal from your mom or whatever. You can pick them up at Walmart. I got a nice big case of them. And just put a pin. You're going to be cutting these pieces out individually. So it's nice to take, and for each piece, you're going to put the pins around them. So we've got one that's sort of almost done. I don't know why this is here, but somebody thought it was important. Just pin it in together. Leave the paper on the foam when you cut it out. The foam is, I'm not going to cut this right now. I think this sheet is earmarked for something else, and we already cut out all of our planes. So I'm just going to take some scrap here and show you basically what the foam looks like when you cut it, okay? This foam cuts like butter with a sharp knife. That's the most important thing that I can stress here is your knife needs to be razor sharp, okay? I don't know if this one is good or not. We're going to try it and see. So when I go down, notice I'm going to take the plane. I want to hold the plane of the knife perpendicular to the plane of the foam, right? Because these pieces have to butt up and mate together, and they need to do so with a straight edge. If you have a wavy edge, they won't mate together good. If you have a beveled edge, one will be sticking up and they won't mate together good. So you want to have your plane straight up and down, okay? Another thing, when I cut this foam, it's not a sawing motion. I'm not going to cut up and down. I'm going to take it. Is that blade short? That blade is kind of short.
You can use the other one though.
Alright, so this blade, it's pulling. You can even sort of hear it. I don't know if the microphone's picking that up. It's not cutting very good because this blade sucks. So let's try a different blade.
Just that one though.
This is a brand new blade.
Yeah.
This is a good blade. When you cut foam with a good blade, are you sure it's a good blade?
It was a.
It was a good
Actually,
blade.
so-
We let Gita use it, so who knows what happened. Try another one. Third time's a charm, right?
Yeah, this is.
These are the cheap blades that you buy from Hobby King for like 99 cents. And I found them to work very, very well. Except when they're... It's kind of a... Why don't we open a new one? This is a new blade. This one will work. So when we come over here,
So you really need to have a sharp blade for this.
look at that. See the difference?
That's cool.
Okay. Tremendous difference. So, basically, on your cutouts, follow the lines, keep the plane of the knife perpendicular to the plane of the board. It's really just follow the dots like we did when we were kids. Cut your pieces out. When you're done, they'll look something like this. This big one here, you're not going to split it yet. Hold that till later. We'll go over that. All your other ones are going to be out, and you're just going to have all these pieces that are just laying about. And we'll go over how these fit together in the next segment.
Do you want to? Okay. 3.
So the next important thing that we're going to learn here is how to cut a bevel cut. Can you see in here? You see the way that these this is 2 pieces of foam. That's not one piece of foam. This is 2 pieces of foam that are joined together. Each of them has a 45-degree edge cut in, right? That's because with a flat edge you couldn't do this, right? We'll go over how to make that hinge a little bit later, but first we need to learn how to cut this bevel. That's very important. So I've got some pieces already that we can look at. This particular one, these are your ailerons, so let's look at how this goes together here. This is your main wing. Now, when you cut this out, it sort of looks like this should be one piece, but there's also lines here for these cutouts. You can cut it out as one piece and then separate it. It doesn't really matter that much, but it is important that you learn how to cut these bevels. Now, this side is already done. This is what it looks like when the bevel is cut. It's just a really nice, now notice it's a pretty steep bevel. So I've got another piece where somebody tried, now there's 2 things that are wrong here, okay? Look at this close. Do you see the edge of the foam? It is not smooth. Compare that to this, right? There's a tremendous difference. I hope you can see that in the camera. It's very apparent to the naked eye, and you'll know when it looks bad if you started out with nice, good, sharp razor blades. So it's all kind of fuzzy. So it was done with a dull razor blade, and also it looks like maybe you got a little piece that was good, except look at the bevel. The bevel is maybe 15-20 degrees, and we really need 45. So I'm gonna show you how to cut a bevel by redoing this one. The bevel is one of the hardest cuts that you're going to make when you do this here, and we're going to start by getting a straight edge. Now, a metal straight edge is better than a wooden straight edge, but a wooden straight edge is better than no straight edge at all. So you can use a yardstick from Walmart or whatever you want. If you do this with wood and you don't keep the razor exactly parallel where it's supposed to go, the razor can dig into the straight edge, which does 2 things. 1, it dulls your razor, and 2, your straight edge isn't straight anymore. So that's why I like the metal, but the wood works if you're very careful to keep the plane of the knife flat against the straight edge, right? When you look at a blade, there's a flat part and then it tapers in on both sides. So if you keep the flat against your straight edge, the sharp part will never touch your straight edge, right? And that's the ideal way to do this, but sometimes it's easier said than done. This was my sharp knife?
Yep.
Okay, so this was my sharp knife. And we're going to come in here, and we're going to get at 45 degrees here, right? You want to make sure that you're at 45 degrees. Now, you can be, actually, it's nice to be back here, but your plane is still 45 degrees off the plane of the table here, right? You want to get right in flat, and my blade is actually gliding right along this straight edge. And look, again, it just cuts like butter. If you set it up right and you get your straight edge all the way down and you line it up and you're steady with your hand, you can rest your hand on the table as you slide and it'll help keep it at a constant level. If you do that, Look at that little bitty piece of foam we just shaved out of there like it was nothing. Trust me, it's a lot harder than it looks. But it is that easy if you start with the foam square. So try to do it right the first time, because cleaning it up is harder than just doing it right the first time. Now on this piece, we've already cut the bevels. If you want to look in here close, you'll notice that there's an undercut here, right? This piece has one side that was done correct and one side that was not. So on this side, the student cutting the bevel, it's not quite as steep as we'd like it, and it'll work, but it's not quite as steep as we'd like it. It's maybe 35, 40 degrees. But two, instead of making an undercut and starting from the middle and going out, they just started from the side and just kept going all the way through their straight edge, and they cut out this piece. And what that's going to do is when we go to mate this up to its corresponding piece, so this mates up right here, and we got a big chunk missing here. Now that won't damage the plane, it won't make it structurally unviable, but it will make it look ugly. Another thing that you'll notice here is when we cut this out, this piece was not cut out flat. So when we look at these two and we stick them together, this guy sticks up about 15 degrees to get those bevels right. Now, it's possible that he cut the other bevel the opposite direction, and if he did, then we might be able to make that work by flipping it around. It is pretty flat, so looks like if we flip it around, we might get that to work. If that's not the case, you have to recut this. You have to just get a straight edge and just, get a nice, good razor on a straight edge and just trim it up true so that these things will fit together flat and square. So, ready to move to the next segment.
Sweet.
Okay, we're going to learn how to make our glue hinge. That's right, glue hinge. Your hinge here, you're not going to tape this. Your hinge is made out of glue. So it's critical that you buy the right glue, okay? This here, can you see that? Loctite Stick and Seal, exterior, not interior. When you open it up, this glue is clear. If you open up your tube and it's white, you got the wrong stuff, okay? I did that once. It's really crappy stuff that you get. So don't get the crappy stuff, get the good stuff. It's kind of like a rubber cement type glue. Now, there's an alternative brand called Welder's Glue, but I can't find it anywhere. If you can find it, get it. It's exactly the same chemical stuff. Lowe's used to sell it, they don't anymore. So to make this hinge, we've already got our bevels cut. So we cut both of our bevels, and we made sure that we got our surfaces aligned, and we got straight edges. See how they mate really well? They're both straight. If you didn't use a straight edge to cut your bevel, you'll have little chunks and you'll have a wavy line, and when you go to make your joint, it'll just really look like garbage. You don't want that. You want a nice straight edge, so use your straight edge when you make your bevels, and it'll help you when you put this together here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bubble of glue here in our tube, and we're going to take this and we're just going to sort of just barely kiss it along the edge here, right? It's not tons of glue, but it's a fair amount, right? Just barely enough to cover that edge, and that's a really sharp edge, so it's not very much. The edge itself will feel like it's totally soaked in glue, but it's not that much glue, if that makes any sense at all. So after you've got your bead of glue, you're going to get your fingers dirty, okay? Because your fingers make a really fantastic squeegee. Now, it's possible to do this if you want to cobble together some foam or something, if you really just, like, appreciate your feminine manicure or whatever it is. But this glue comes off after a couple days, so really just get your fingers in there, squeegee it down. Now, when I squeegee this down, I got a little tiny bit extra here. I'm going to use this little tiny bit extra to just sort of start on this end. I'm just going to dab it in just like we did with the glue before we started. Get it off my fingers. And now I'm going to finish by going down this here, right? And since this is my second one, I might not want to go all the way down because I'm going to squeegee it again and I might have some extra. And if I can measure this right, I can come up to where I have no extra glue at the end, right? I got a little tiny bit. I'm just going to dab that in here and go again. Alright? We got that pretty good, right? So, Now that these are both done, we started a timer. We got glue drying, right? Now this glue doesn't dry ridiculously fast, but it dries pretty quick when it's exposed to air the way that it is right now. It has a really high surface area to volume ratio, so it evaporates pretty quick. This glue is already tacky right there on that joint, and we're going to stick it together, okay? And that was my garage light that just turned off, but that's okay. I think we can still see, right? We're going to stick it together. Now, if your joint was nice and straight, then these two pieces will mate together with almost no force at all, right? Now, ours was pretty good, pretty straight, but it wasn't straight enough to just let go. So I got to hold this here just long enough for it to get tacky, and then, which isn't very long. We're already tacky. Okay, so this guy's done. It's holding itself in place. All right, we're not going to move it for a little while. I'll show you what it looks like in a little bit. You're going to repeat the same thing here on this side. After we put the rest of the plane together, we'll show you how to do that. But the hinges that you're going to do eventually include both sides, both ailerons, right? This is your elevator. You're going to do your elevator. And this is your rudder. Somebody actually taped this so it doesn't go the other way. So we'll get rid of the tape. This is your rudder, right? And it should hinge, and it should be just that easy to move. I mean, I'm barely moving this. That hinge is extremely flexible. Now, the reason it's important it be flexible is so it doesn't load your servos down. This will help your servos to last long and not wear themselves out.